Last one right here. Here we go. Can I dance?
Dance. Ooh, yeah, you can dance too. But that's the way his name is Magic.
Hello everybody, this is the Magic Man, the tennis preacher, the prophet, and the psychic. Coming back at you again with another video. I told y'all this video is coming. I just did a video saying, can Federer change the headlines? Can he change the narrative? This whole Djokovic narrative. Can he change the headlines by winning the ATP finale? Okay, and I show y'all that if he did win the ATP finale, it's going to be hard because he has to beat Djokovic. Or, well, he got to beat everybody else, not just Djokovic. That's the worst thing he wants to happen is that we know he has to beat Djokovic, but he don't want Team and Zverev and all those guys to beat him before he can even get to Djokovic. So, but let's assume he beats all the other players, such as Isner and all of them. And let's say Djokovic is the only one in his way. Let's say Djokovic and Federer meet in the final. So this is like a preview. Now, let me just say this here. I'm pretty sure I would do another preview just because I want to do it, even if I'm satisfied with this. This is like a preview of the preview. So this is preview of Djokovic versus Federer. I'm not going to delete this either. This is on YouTube for good. If Djokovic faces Federer, this is probably like a preview of it. All right, people. Now, here is the question. Can Federer beat Djokovic? I think Djokovic has already beat him the last 8 to 9 times. At least 8 straight times, I believe. Okay? I know when I did a review on it, when I took and previewed Federer and Djokovic way back in the summer, okay, I think Djokovic had beat him the last 6 times. So I guess it's probably 8 times now, or 9. Okay? One of those. Plus, Djokovic has beat Federer in the last 3 majors they have played. So, is there a way for Federer to beat Djokovic? Whether Federer does something in his play or style or level, definitely need a level, or Djokovic just doesn't show up with the necessary level to beat Federer, okay? And, or whatever dynamics comes about. So I want to just talk about Djokovic versus Federer. Now, people, let me say something. I didn't actually watch the match. I have watched it. Now, I watched it like a couple hours after it happened when Djokovic beat Federer in the Paris Masters. Get it right, okay? My friend texted me, and he said, in the text now, I didn't know the results yet. But of course, once he sent this text, I knew what the results was. He said, why don't you just, now he didn't say, why don't you face it? He said, no, this is the way he said it. He said, Federer is not as mentally tough as Djokovic. And he said, why don't you address that? Here's my friend talking now. He said, why don't you address that fact that Federer is not as mentally tough as Djokovic? He said, why don't you address that on your channel? Okay, now, I didn't know what the score was. He didn't tell me that Federer sort of broke down mentally or emotionally, whichever one you want to call it. I think it's more emotional, though. People call that mental, but I think it's emotional, though, that's even stronger than the mental. But people call it, in tennis, we call emotional stuff mental. Like if somebody breaks down emotionally or fails under pressure, we call that mental. And sometimes it is, but it's actually emotional. I mean, when you're talking about feeling some type of nerves or pressure, that's really emotional. So let me get back to what my friend said. He said, why don't you address that on the channel? That Federer is not as mentally tough as Djokovic. Now, so I knew then Federer lost against Djokovic. So I ran and looked at the score, and I did go back and watch the whole match, but I looked at some of the highlights, and I quickly went to the end of the match. I wanted to see how it ended, and I saw the tiebreaker. I watched that over and over again, so I got that tiebreaker down, and Federer, he broke down, just gave away three easy points. I mean, Djokovic wasn't playing that Nagamo in the tiebreaker, and so Federer gave away 3 points. Next thing you know, he's down like 4-1 or something like that. Okay, so let's talk about, let me tell y'all, I took and sent my friend immediately. I sent him a text back. I said, I've already addressed that. I said that, I've already addressed that, even though I think Federer is arguably the GOAT, that everybody knows. I told my friend this. I've already addressed that. Djokovic is mentally tougher than Federer, and probably Nadal is too. But now, that don't mean that Federer doesn't have a certain amount of mental toughness, but I will agree with this, and I told my friend this. In some past videos, I made a video addressing that I was surprised that Federer, as great as he is, arguably the GOAT, that when whoever trained him early on, I know that coach, when he was like 14, 15, well, Federer, he already had all those strokes. His style looked the same. He was skinnier than he is now, but his style looked the same. He was already smooth rhythm with that expansive repertoire. So he put emphasis on level. Like you hear Federer to this day, he talked about rhythm, level. He said that my rhythm doesn't come back as normal as it used to, as quickly as it used to. But even to this day, even though Federer is mentally tough, that's why you have to be mentally tough to win 20 majors, but he's not as mentally tough and emotionally tough on the court as Djokovic and Nadal. And I made a video, I forgot the title of the video, maybe I'll put it down in the link. I made a video where I addressed that I was shocked that Federer, as great as he is, and that whoever trained him didn't teach him how important mental toughness, emotional toughness, getting dirty is, and that is just as important or more important than levels and rhythm and expansive repertoire. So you can tell what Federer put emphasis on. Like if his level isn't there, if his rhythm isn't there, he usually loses. However, though, I will say this here now, and this has got to do with this video, what he needs to do to beat Djokovic. I thought Federer had got past what happened against him in the third set tiebreaker against Djokovic last week in the Paris Masters, when it was 2-1, and all of a sudden Federer just gave up 3 easy points. I mean, it was like this unforced errors. Next thing you know, he's down 4-1 or something. I thought Federer was past that, and I made some videos back in the early spring when Federer became #1 in Rotterdam. He wasn't playing at a high level, but he had a really good B-level game that was really mentally solid too. So I thought Federer was at least past that. So someone might say, well, Magic Man, if you thought he was past that, and are you saying he's not past that? He obviously showed that he's not past that. Now, somebody could say, well, maybe it's because he was playing against Djokovic, and Djokovic brought it out of him, brought that little, I would call it the little mental weakness or pussy weakness or whatever, emotional weakness. Did Djokovic bring that out of him? So you may be saying, well, Magic Man, if you thought he was past that, and he was, and now you said he's not past that, well, people, this is what I think happened with Federer now, okay? And this got to do with the title of the video, saying Federer needs to free up. People, I made a video way back last year, early on in my channel, saying that I predicted Federer was going to win 20. Bam, he won the 20th major. I said once Federer wins 20, he will be free then. And people, it seemed that way. After he won the Australian Open, Federer was like free. Hey man, everything else is cream on the top now. Everything else is just extra topping. If I win more, fine. If I don't, fine. But I've already got that 20. I've got that monkey off my shoulders, or what else, off my back. Okay, so what happened? Okay, so people, Federer wins 20th major. the 20th major. He then comes to like Rotterdam. He becomes #1. So people, he's like free. If Federer was playing free, I can see it. People, a lot of those matches, like against a lot of those guys during the spring, leading up to Indian Wells, were close. But Federer still mentally pulled it off. Federer fans know what I'm talking about. And people, listen, then his level continued to drop, but Federer continued to win. But people, he came into Indian Wells, and his level dropped. It continued to drop. He almost lost against Djokovic in like the semifinals or quarters. Then he got against Del Potro. Level still dropping, but Del Potro beat him. And then Federer, then he was never free again. His freedom was lost in that Del Potro match. He had that irritated look on his face. And so you might be saying, imagine, man, what are you trying to say? What I'm saying is, if Federer's level would have stayed up to a certain extent, he would have been free. But because his level dropped, and then it dropped even more after the Indian Wells, losing against Del Potro, he came and level really just plummeted, kaploop. He went against Kokonakis, and then he was really not free then. Just really low level, got beat by Kokonakis. And then he pulled out of the out of the clay court season. And so Federer, that freedom that I was talking about that he showed, he lost it. Okay, so then he comes back into the Wimbledon, and he does win he wins the not the Holly, right? I think he lost the Holly, right? I think he lost the, I don't think he even played, whatever. Okay, he wins the, I'm trying to think whichever win, I think it was Stuttgart. Yeah, he wins the Stuttgart. Okay, level looking okay. All right, he looking free somewhat. All right, but there's still a level problem. I guess you probably say, well, imagine, man, what are you really saying? What is causing, if you're saying that Federer isn't free anymore, what's causing him not to be free? I can tell you what it is, people, it's the level, because then he comes to, after he comes through the pre-grass, then he comes to the, he gets beat by Djokovic at the Holly, right? I think it was Djokovic. And, and then the level is tripping. He doesn't have control of the level quite. He thought he had control because he won the Stuttgart. And then, and became #1 at the Stuttgart. But then, people, he comes to the Wimbledon. He's playing sort of well. Okay, all right. And then he loses against Kevin Anderson. He doesn't have control of the level. And when you don't have control of the level, it drops your confidence. And when you don't have confidence, you're not free. Okay, y'all understand what I'm saying? So now, Federer, okay, so he has the same problem now. Leading up to the U.S. Open, lose against Millman pretty bad. He plays better in the Laver Cup. Loses against Djokovic in the Shanghai. Loses in the Paris Masters, okay, sort of the same problem, level drop in the Paris Masters against Djokovic. Actually, you know what? I don't think it was a level problem so much against Djokovic. I just think he felt the pressure of the Djokovic that he wasn't free. Okay, so my point is, Federer needs to free up. He needs to get back and say, man, I'm 37. There is no pressure. If I win, no problem. If I don't win, it's a problem. It's no problem. Okay, so the only way I think Federer can beat Djokovic, if it's a repeat of that Paris Masters, where the Djokovic was not in the God mode. So the first thing he needs, Djokovic not to be in the God mode. Okay, then Federer, he got to make sure his level is really high. All right, and he got to make sure he's free. He can't be under, because Djokovic is solid, man. Djokovic ain't giving up any free points. So Federer needs to get back the way he felt when he won his 20th major at the Australian Open almost a year ago. He was free. He need to say, if I lose against Djokovic, if he's in the tiebreak against Djokovic, it should be Djokovic feeling the pressure. Federer should have been, let's go back to that Paris Masters tiebreaker. When the tiebreaker started, and Federer played a good match, okay? he got to say, hey man, if I lose against Djokovic in the tiebreaker, no problem. I'm 37, man. I'm happy to be here. He can't make himself feel pressure, okay? And if Federer can stay free, okay? See, I feel that Federer would have won that first set tiebreaker. He has set point in the tiebreaker against the Djokovic in the Paris Masters. But see, there he go again. He wasn't quite free. He probably would have freed up if he would have won that first set tiebreaker, though. But see, that ain't really freedom. You shouldn't need to win the first set to be free. So Federer needs to free up. That's the only way he gonna win this ATP finale with Djokovic around. Is for him to be free. All right, and then he's gonna also need some help from the Djokovic, because I don't think Djokovic will be in the God mode. He definitely will probably be in a good mode. Okay, and there's one other thing. I could do this in a separate video, but I go ahead and say it now. No, you know what? I do that in another video. Well, let me mention this here. One way Federer could win the ATP finale, there's a possibility Djokovic could be sort of mentally tired and drained. I mean, y'all got to understand what kind of year Djokovic had. He was trying to come back for the first 5 or 6 months, almost 7 months before he won. So all that energy, media saying and fans saying he'll never come back, he losing, trying to believe in himself, trying to have some type of faith in himself, trying to believe in his level, believe in what he can do, and then he wins 2 majors, 3 Master Series. He could be like tired of winning for the year. It's like mentally drained. It's been a great year, but it's been a mentally exhaustion. It's been a mentally fatiguing year. Okay, so it's possible that Djokovic could be sort of mentally tired, and if the Djokovic is sort of mentally tired and Federer is on his game, Federer could get him. Okay, all right, people, tennis preacher, prophet, psychic, signing off. But Federer got to be free. He got to free himself and get back to the freedom he had earlier in the year after he won the Australian Open. Tennis preacher, prophet, psychic, signing off. Have a good one.